Well, it is a rainy day in Indiana. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Paul. How are you? Uh, Let me tell you, I do not advise red eyes. I'm back in Indiana now. Took the red eye from Las Vegas into Indianapolis last night, so I haven't been to bed yet. What a night! And that kind of brings up the question of what's your plan? Hey, good to see you. You're well, Paul. The red eye just is really not the way to travel. That's not my favorite way to go. But it was kind of crazy. I was on Delta last night, and to take the red eye was like $250, and to fly out this morning and get here this afternoon was something like $900. So I figured I could take a nap this afternoon for $700. So it works out pretty good. So here's what happened on the flight last night. I wanted to pass this along. Things could go wrong. I thought I could control everything. Of course, Bill. Hey, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks. Man, I love your Periscope as well, man. Thanks for watching from Europe. So I'm on the flight last night, and it was a commuter flight from Vegas to Los Angeles, and then I connected. Yes, you. Yes. You show a lot more exciting places many times. So I'm on this commuter flight from Vegas to L.A., and then going to fly on the red eye nonstop from L.A. to Indianapolis. So this guy gets on the flight, and he's smashed. I mean, even by Vegas standards, this guy is super, super drunk, right? And you can just tell by the way he's staggering down the aisle, and he's like dragging his bags behind him, and his pants are practically falling down. He's smells obviously reeks of liquor, and I'm sitting there as the guy goes by the row. And especially by Las Vegas standards, right? And so the guy goes by the row, and it's just, wow, he's just hammered, and he's talking, and I thought he was talking to, the person he was with. He's not with anybody, right? I mean, he's the person in front of him, the person behind him, are kind of looking at him. He's not with anybody, and he's talking to himself. Smell, the whole bit. Well, then he gets in his seat. And he's, saying stuff to the flight attendant, and he's just being loud and nasty. And anyway, so then the cops came on, and the pilot came back, and they take the guy off the plane. As they're taking the guy off the plane, and everybody's looking at each other, as you can imagine, the regional jet, the commuter, the seats are thank goodness. Paul, usually that is the guy that's sitting next to me, but it wasn't that in this case. So as they're just about to get him out the door, he turns back and looks at the flight attendant who is standing by my row and says real loud, "How am I getting home now, bro?" Now, shouting, "How am I getting home now, bro?" is probably not the best thing that you can say when they're dragging you off the plane. But from a serious standpoint, and it was kind of funny because after he got off and they closed the door, everybody on the flight kind of exhaled and then kind of chuckled. But the crazy thing is, why didn't they have a plan? Why did the guy get on the flight to begin with? I mean, this computer is playing something here, and I'm going to turn that off. But I mean, think about that for a second. The guy never should have been on the flight to begin with. I mean, they never should have allowed him to get past the door, because if I can certainly tell how drunk he is just by watching him go down the aisle, if I can smell that he reeks of alcohol just as he's going down the aisle, you're telling me that the people at the gate didn't do that? See, what happened there is what happens in so many non-distinctive businesses. The people at the gate didn't want to deal with the hassle, so they just passed it on to the flight attendants, hoping that someone else would take care of it. Exactly right, Paul. It's the syndrome of, it's not my job. And therefore, instead of handling the situation early, What they did was pass it along so that every single customer was delayed for a moment or had to deal with the inconvenience caused by one single person. So here's what I want to ask you today for your business. Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan of what happens if something isn't quite wrong? If something isn't quite right, if something goes wrong, do you have a plan? So on the flight last night, and this part is tragic, but it lends itself to the story. And if you're not from the States, I know we have some viewers internationally right now. There was a tragic event not long ago here in the United States where a disgruntled former employee of a television station shot a reporter and a cameraman live on the air and killed them both. And so what I was reading was an interview with the general manager of that station, and they were asking him from a business viewpoint, what did he learn from that tragedy? And the overriding lesson was simply this. Make it on one page. You got to get it down so it'd be on one page, and it's a one page of if something happens, this is what we do. And he said, we realized that we were handling a terrible situation flying to the seat of our pants, and that's not the time that you want to be making decisions. It's when you're emotional and when things are difficult. So he said, sit down now and ask yourself, if something went wrong, what would we do? How would we handle it? It's been often said that the company Johnson & Johnson was saved in many ways because they had considered what would happen if Tylenol went bad before there was the product tampering and Tylenol was tampered with and caused the deaths of some unfortunate people. So that's part of what I want to suggest that you do, is don't say, not my job, but to instead say, how do I make this my job to handle the situation? Yeah, you're right, Bill. Former President Harry Truman was well known for having a sign on his desk that said the buck stops here. You can't pass the buck. You can't just, throw it somewhere else. And so that's part of what we have to do. We had an interesting thing. I even mentioned it yesterday about owning something and saying that ownership is not just the physical property ownership. Ownership is owning up to. It's taking it, taking the responsibility. And my buddy Larry Winget talks about this a lot. It's really the key thing that Larry talks about. But I think it's important to suggest too for business is that we have to have not only the word is responsibility, but we also have to have the authority. We can't delegate responsibility without delegating the authority to make decisions. And so that was part of the challenge last night, is that not only did the crew out front have the responsibility to make certain that guy didn't get on the plane, they had the authority and they exercised neither. And so it's not just taking personal responsibility. Distinctive individuals and professionals and organizations also use the authority that they have to make the right decision. So the message of today really is this. A, do you have a plan of what happens if something goes wrong? And B, have you delegated not only the responsibility to take action in those situations, but the authority to make those decisions so that people know that when they make that call, that they have the total backing and support to do it, that you have, as Paul just said, you've empowered them to take action. There's a story I wrote in my most recent book about Midway Airlines, at the Midway Airport in Chicago, when Midway Airlines was going to go down. A couple guys from Southwest just got on a plane, flew to Midway, and bought the gates. They didn't even ask the CEO, is it okay if we spend this money? They were just so clear that this was the mission of the organization and that they had the authority and the responsibility to take action when necessary. They just got on the plane and did it. So are your people, or are you so clear about when opportunity or a challenge or a problem presents itself that you'll take the steps and do the right thing? Gets back to that. Yeah, you bet it does, Paul. It gets back to clarity. So that's the thought for the day. Distinctive organizations know what to do. They delegate responsibility and authority to help their people do it, and they take action. I think that guy's backup plan was, so how am I getting home now, bro? Hey, I hope you have a great day. The weather's kind of cloudy and rainy. I went from the sunshine and everything of the west to the clouds and rain here in the east, but it's all good. Hey, Bill, thanks very much. I've hit a couple of years too as well, and I appreciate it. Thanks for all the hearts and all the love going on here. I really appreciate it. And I tell you what, hey, I know that you may not be able to join every day. I try to do these about 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific in the States. And for those of you watching in the United Kingdom, I know it's a lot later for you. But if you get a chance, on Friday, I'm going to be at a student convention. When I was a kid, I was a part of a national organization called FFA, Future Farmers of America. And I'm going to try to be at the convention in time to show you a little bit of it. If not, I'll do a scope. Just be watching. I'll do a scope there a little bit on Friday, and I'll certainly be scoping there on Saturday. And I'll try to do a scope from the stage because I'm part of a former national officer team that they're going to bring on stage. And so there'll be like 23,000 people in the audience when we walk on the stage. So I'll try to be scoping when we walk on the stage. But it's unlike anything you've ever seen. It is the greatest leadership development activity in the world. It's just incredible. If you get direct TV, satellite TV, anything like that, the RFD network, check that out. The RFD network will be airing part of that convention. I know that sounds crazy, but you've got to check it out. You can't imagine that these are 19 and 20-year-old young people standing up and speaking in front of 20,000 plus people, and just some of the incredible things that happens at that meeting. So I'll try to scope from there because there's a lot of great lessons from there, and it's where I learned some of the most important lessons of my life. So, Bill, and you're exactly right. And the leadership training that I received, and it's kind of funny because there's a couple other folks that are buddies of mine that are speakers. Mark Sanborn that wrote the book The Fred Factor, Mark Mayfield that's a great keynote speaker and humorist. And we were all buddies in the same organization back then many years ago. All of our leadership training came from that, and I can't wait to show you just a little bit of it. I think it'll just blow you away. So unlike me being here doing the one-to-one, I want you to see that. So I'll try to get it on Friday. I don't know, given when their sessions start, if it coordinates with this particular time. But I'll be doing this from Louisville on Friday, and then I'll put a scope up on Saturday morning and other times from that convention. So please check that out too. All right. Hey, everybody, have a great day, and look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for contributing too. Appreciate it.